Salutations from space and aloha from Earth, Sacred Astro crew. This is Stellarium Training video number 3. Let's share this screen and we'll make sure that this live stream is happening. And get into the thing, get into Stellarium here. All right, so again, Stellarium optional. I will be using this as a vehicle for our Sacred Astronomy journey, this wonderful program. First, let's open up some astrology software in honor of this moment now. It is 10:59 a.m. where I'm sitting in Monterey, California on January 1st, 2018. Happy New Year's with the 4th degree of Pisces on the rise. And Jupiter up here on the 9th. Fantastic. Some might choose to look towards Neptune, and we're not going to get into that whole trip because this is, of course, about the proofs behind the astrological equations, not the rules, all right? But anyway, how can we find this same thing, the same time in the sky? And Stellarium, this free planetarium software, is a wonderful way to do that. All right, so this is training video number 3. In other words, you should have seen 1 and 2 by now, right? Don't watch them in order, please. If you want to do this, it's optional whether or not you want to download this free software for Mac or PC. We talked about how to do that a little bit in number 1. And the only reason really why I'm broadcasting these live on the Facebook group page is so I can test that tech, because I plan to do this that way during sharing the course material. I will also invite you to be in the Zoom video webinar, but it'll show up on Facebook in case that's just easier for you wherever you are, or in case you're watching on a phone or a tablet or anything like that too. I'll just say this, I said in the last video even more strongly than I did in the first, but I am not a Stellarium teacher. All right, so we can look at some Stellarium questions, and I'm sure there'll be many, like any software, especially a complex software with tons of options. I'm still learning the software. We can look at questions in the question and answer sessions if we have enough time after questions regarding the course content, okay? But as far as like, how do I set this up? How do I do settings on my computers? You know, here's a problem I'm having in Stellarium, whatever. I'm not your guy. There's a Stellarium question and answer, frequently asked questions. There's Stellarium chat boards and stuff. Find that all at stellarium.org. I'm happy to make these training videos just to kind of get you up and started. The true way to learn, as it is with any software and anything, is to play. And to get around and push some buttons. Nothing's going to blow it up. And if somehow your settings get changed in some way that you seem like you can't come back from that, you just return to default settings and begin again. Or you uninstall the software entirely and install again. I did hear recently, I'm a Mac person currently, but I heard recently from a friend who's on PC that when she went to download the Stellarium software, she got a message from her from her PC that said that this software can be harmful for your computer, so she chose not to download it. I have never, ever, 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 ever heard of anyone having any problems with Stellarium software in that regard, like viruses or hacks or anything like that on Mac or on PC, whether 32-bit or 64-bit. I think we get a little hypersensitive, especially in the PC world, around that business. If you want to play that way, you better quit Facebook, kids. Anyway, so but I can't tell you for sure, you know, don't take me to court, but I'm pretty dang sure Stellarium is okay for your computer. I've never had issues with it causing issue on my computer. I will say that before my hard drive got wiped recently, Stellarium, the latest update, seemed to be a little bit more than my computer could handle, and it was really kind of jerky. So it would take, there was like a 1 second delay between button clicks and the thing happening, which was very frustrating. Now I don't really have much on my computer because it got wiped and I decided not to do the time machine and get my old files back. I'll have to at some point, but right now my Stellarium is running really smoothly. So you might experience that. I'll say another thing. When I first started installing Stellarium, this was years ago, for some reason, there was just this weird happening where even though, like, for example, it was 10 a.m. where I was, it was showing 10 p.m. It was like 12 hours off, and I could not figure out how to sort it off. They've sorted out. They've since changed some things in Stellariums where if I zoom back from one location to another, it adjusts the time zone automatically, which is amazing. And they've added many amazing things for astrologers. Like they now give you an option to show the equinox degrees and the solstice degrees, although it looks as if I just tried to bring them in. It looks like the keyboard shortcuts that I used to use for them are not the official ones. So one thing we're going to do today is to go through and look how to change keyboard shortcuts. Although I think I will make a separate Stellarium keyboard shortcut video suggesting the ones that I use, because if we are kind of apples to apples in the software, at least during the course of the course, I can just say E is my shortcut for bringing up the ecliptic and taking away. And right now it's not. Right now E brings up this equatorial grid that we looked at last time. So we're going to look at how we can change that. And that equatorial grid that we looked at last time was down here in these lower menu bars. So in the last video, we looked at this lower menu bar, which includes things like satellite hints and toggle meteor showers, which for some reason, even though I save my settings, and let's look at that, like I just turned those two off, and so I want to go into a configuration window, monkey wrench star, as I like to say, and hit save settings. But for some reason in Stellarium, like here I am quitting, and I'm going to come back in. For some reason in Stellarium, they're really insistent about me this time, I guess, learning about meteor showers, because you can see both of these buttons that I just turned off are currently turned on. Toggle meteor showers and satellite hints. Satellite hints has never been a bother for me. I've never actually seen that show up. But the meteor showers just annoys me. And I think by now, if you've watched the last training video and this one, you're well aware of that. And I switched from tea to coffee, by the way. So that's only going to get worse. Anyway, let's get up over into the left menus now. We looked at location, right? Training video number 1 was how to find your location on Earth. You can scroll through these things. Let's say I want to go to Athens, Greece. Amazing. And here's Athens, Greece in this moment where it is nighttime. Actually, I went to Athens, United States in Georgia, where it's not nighttime, it's daytime. I just have my atmosphere taken away, so I can't see that. So I clicked back over here, and I hit the A key because that's the keyboard shortcut for atmosphere. And so now I see that it's daytime in Athens, Georgia. What about Athens, Greece, where it's nighttime? Okay, it's nighttime, and let's see what else is going on over there in Athens. Here's the sacred hoop. What's the sacred hoop? We'll certainly be talking about that. Here's the Pleiades. All right. Here are what? Who's that? That is Hamal and Sheraton, the bright stars of the Ram, this constellation that many would call Aries, but I will call it the Ram. Why? Because constellations and signs are very different things. And I will say that that's, well, somewhere in Taurus. So if I cast a chart right now in Athens, Greece, what I'm going to see is the early degrees, the first decan of Taurus at the midheaven. Greece, Athens, fantastic. And what's going on there? I was off. I said the first decan, and here we are, 13.5 degrees Taurus, almost off by 3 degrees. At least. Awful. Unacceptable. But how even did I do that? Just by looking at this. And more importantly, how could I do that looking at the sky? That's obviously the content of the course, not a Stellarium training video. I'm just showing off. I'm not doing a great job of it. So the constellations go away. Here are these star names, which is cool. I'm wondering why they don't label Castor and Pollux, or well, they do label Capella. So Castor and Pollux must not be bright enough for their reasoning. But I don't really want star labels on in my stellarium right now anyway. It just kind of clutters the stream, and I know these guys. It might be great for you to leave on. And we'll look at how you can actually adjust how many different star names we see. It's going to be limited by the brightness. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to go from Athens, Greece. This is beautiful. I'm going to come back to where I am right now in Monterey, and we saw that in training video 1. I set it up for my default location. I'll be changing that soon because I'll be leaving Monterey in a couple hours. I'm going to close the location window. I'm going to hit the A button, or this here, the sun and clouds, and take the atmosphere away, just so I can see the planets and some of these stars pop out once again. Okay. So location, which we could also do by function F6, much more quickly. Function F5 gets me the date and time, right? And now function F4, F3, F2, F10, and the help window. So the help window might be a wonderful place to go if you have a question about stellarium for Gemini Brett that he doesn't really want to answer because he's not your stellarium teacher. You are your stellarium teacher. He's not even your sacred astronomy teacher. You are your sacred astronomy teacher, but I'll be playing that role for a little time alone. But definitely not the stellarium guy. Stellarium help question mark button is your stellarium guy. And there are other stellarium guys and gals out there in the world that are here to save you if you come into stellarium-ish. But I can see that that's function F1. And so if I hit that button, we get all sorts of things happening. And so one of our journey agents asked for a stellarium PDF. Check this out. This has a lot of cool stuff. And it's actually listing a ton of the keyboard shortcuts, which could be cool to learn, like Q is cardinal points, and A is atmosphere, ones we've used. C is constellation lines. All those things, by the way, are held. Let me just interrupt myself to say that there's not much help going on here, is there? So, further reading. Stellarium User Guide, Frequently Asked Questions, the Stellarium Wiki, Bug Reporting and Feature Request System, Forums. By the way, I've sent some feature requests that have shown up. And I'm probably not the only one, but I asked for astrology stuff. I tried to request it in a kind of astronomical way, right? When I was talking about, I asked for an ecliptic grid, for example, something we'll use often in this course. And I talked about looking at archaeoastronomy and precession of the equinoxes and working with the angular measurements of stone circles and things that I felt might apply also to the astronomers, at least the archaeoastronomer set. And they've brought in amazing things, including that and other wonderful tools that we can utilize as astrologers, like the 0 Aries and Libra, the equinox points, and the 0 Cancer and Capricorn, the tropicals, and the solstice points, and the tropical zodiac, and this ecliptic grid, and archaeoastronomy lines, and all sorts of amazing stuff. So thank you, Stellarium. First of all, I know you're probably not watching this video. Thank you, Stellarium. I've paid hundreds of dollars for like advanced astronomy softwares. I like this one more, and it's free. What a cool thing. All right. So function F1 or the question mark button will get you to the help window, and you can cruise around. Please do. Astronomical calculations window. We probably won't use this so much, and yet I tell you the truth, I haven't gotten into it so much, but it's cool. So first of all, I guess they're showing me the right ascension and the declination and the magnitude and the, I don't know, and the distance and astronomical units and the type. I'm not going to decode that now. Of all sorts of, I think everything in the catalog that's above the horizon right now is my guess. Look, use horizontal coordinates. What happens when I click that? Azimuth and altitude. Wonderful. Those will be topics of our web course. Declination, certainly. I'm not so sure about right ascension. We'll see. But use horizontal azimuth. What an amazing thing. I can actually find the azimuth and altitude of Ganymede right now. So I don't know. That's one of Jupiter's principal moons. I'm not sure why they don't show Io, Europa, but maybe they're actually hiding behind Jupiter right now. I really don't know. But I will show, here's the ephemeris. Pretty cool. Showing me where, I guess I can move the moon around. I'm not going to do that. Phenomena. I will show you this button because it's pretty amazing. So let's say I just spoke earlier about the Mars and Jupiter conjunction that's going to happen on January 6th where I am in California. So I can say Mars and planets. And I can look between January 1st, 2018 and let's go January 19th for some reason. And then I will calculate phenomena. Well, look at that. Phenomenon, conjunction, Mars, Jupiter. And that makes me wonder if somehow they would show the squares or oppositions. I'm guessing maybe this is wonderful in Intrepid software. Maybe they would show at least the quadratures, planets when they align to sun. So let's see if they will tell me. I don't have a great example right now. Let's see if they'll tell me when the moon squares sun, when the third quarter moon comes up. Okay. So full moon is today, January 1st, where I am, and the third quarter moon is January 9th. So I'm going to get back in here. And I am going to ask phenomena. I'm going to look from moon to probably planets, but maybe sun. Oh, you know what? Let's do moon and, well, let's do moon and sun first. So moon and planets. And I will ask for between January 1st and January 19th. That's fine. That should get us actually full moon, third quarter moon, and new moon, if I'm right. So calculate phenomena. And something creepy is going on here. Actually creepy enough that I'm going to close that. And I'm going to come back in. And as you can see, this is how I learn software. So here we go again. Moon and planets from January 1st to January 19th, 2018. Maximum allowed separation 1 degree. Oh, calculate oppositions. Okay, calculate phenomena. So here's the opposition between Moon and Neptune. It's not showing me Moon and Sun. Anyway, I'm going to clean up that. And I'm going to say moon, and I wanted to see this. Bright stars. So less than 5 degrees magnitude. We'll talk about this, but the lower the magnitude, the brighter the star, which is a weird thing. And I'm going to say moon and bright stars. I'm kind of interested in seeing if it will catch the two Aldebaran alignments that I'm familiar with in recent time, one being December 2nd. So I'll click December 1st, 2017. And the other was a couple of days ago. So I'm just going to go to January 1st, 2018. And I'll do the oppositions as well. And I'm wondering if it will show me the moon conjunctions to Aldebaran on December 2nd and December, I think, 28th. What I'm realizing instead is I just hit a button that's going to ask this computer to calculate all lunar conjunctions and oppositions to bright stars below the magnitude of 5 for like an entire month's time. And that's going to take forever. So I don't know if I can do this right now, but I'm going to quit Stellarium. No, that's not happening, right? So I'm going to go on my computer and pardon the sound, please. My mic gets clipped onto a place that prevents me from seeing my Apple menu so I can go force quit. Sorry, Stellarium, but I quit you. And now, Stellarium, can we get back together? Okay. Right, sorry. Going a little too nuts in the menus, but let that be an invitation to you to go nuts in the menus and see what Stellarium can do. In the course, we're really not going to use the astronomical calculations window so much, okay? Altitude versus time and graphs and what? What? I don't know. I'm going to take this away because I'm too interested, and the whole point of this thing is to talk to you, isn't it? Stellarium Training video number 3. The left menu options. So one of them is astronomical calculations window. Don't worry about it, or go in there and play. So now we're back in this configuration window that we've seen a few times because it's a place to save settings or save view. Say I wanted to be looking east every time I open my Stellarium. I mean, if I'm studying the east, that might be one way that I can align my own energy there, especially if I'm looking at Stellarium a lot, right? I prefer to look south. And so here in the configuration window, the main configuration window, I can write save view. And you can read right here, save either the current field of view and direction of view or all the current options for use at next startup. That second bit is save settings, all the current options, okay? And then restore defaults will take you back to losing all the keyboard shortcuts, the lines that you want to see, whatever it may be, okay? Program language English. Well, you might want to change that. And it looks like there's a whole bunch of options. How cool is that? All right. I don't know. Something's freaking out in here. So I'm just going to close that menu and then get back into it. I'm also realizing I've selected a star because we've got all this stuff over here. We're going to learn in this video for sure how to tone that down. And back into the configuration window. And you'll see these things, we saw it with the clock in the last training video, that if I click off of the menu, it gets dim. It's very hard to see right now. I'm also outside. And the sun is right there. And it's like 10 a.m. and I'm in the northern hemisphere. So what direction am I facing? Anyway, soon you'll be able to say for sure. I think within 5 seconds exactly which direction I'm facing. Okay, so anytime I click here in the screen, the menu that I'm looking at is going to go dim, and very likely, because there's so many stars, you'll see all this information coming up. So I'm going to right click over there first of all. That just takes me to deselect whatever I'd selected on. Look at this, like I just selected a star that I can't even see because it's below the ground. So Stellarium sometimes even better than I want it to be. I'll right click, take that away. I'll click back on this menu screen and now it shows up again. If we get lost and forget how to do that stuff, first of all, right click, I can just take the menu away and bring it back. And remember, these menu bars will show up if you hover your mouse over there, or we found earlier I can click these buttons and keep them up permanently, especially if once I do, I go into the main menu of the configuration settings and choose save settings, right? All right, English language, sky culture language. I have an idea of what that is, but I'm not sure. And since I only speak English, unfortunately, I'm leaving all that as English. Great. Information. Here's where we want to start messing with some stuff. Because if I select Spica right now, let me select Spica and I'm going to come back and click on this configurations menu. Okay. Type, variable star, magnitude, absolute magnitude, color index, magnitude, range, right ascension, and declination according to J2000, on date today. I don't know. Azimuth and altitude, galactic longitude and latitude, supergalactic longitude and latitude, ecliptic longitude and latitude. Well, that's cool because that's the zodiac. The ecliptic latitude and longitude at J2000 versus on date. I think J2000 is the year 2000, maybe January 1st, but I don't know. I guess I have a question. Maybe I should ask Brett about that. No, maybe I should ask Google. Hey Google, what is J2000? And together we will learn. When the mean equator and equinox of J2000 are used to define a celestial reference frame, that frame may be denoted J2000. Coordinates are simply J2000. The J in the prefix indicates that it is a Julian equinox epoch rather than a Basilian equinox epoch. I did not really personally learn anything from that, but I could click here on equinox celestial coordinates and learn more about J2000, and maybe I should. But if you were to ask me, the answer is I don't know, and I'd prefer actually not to be asked. Please ask the Google device, all right? If we use it in the course, I'll explain it. So here in this Stellarium Training video, just to get you off your feet and running, should you choose to use this optional software also that I'm going to be presenting course material through. You'll notice I'm being a lot redundant in this regard, and I'm okay with that currently. We're going to learn how to get a bunch of this stuff off of here, because I personally don't care what the color index of B to V is negative 0.25 for the star Spica is. I care now because I have no idea what that means. But what I'm not interested in the catalog number, going away. I'm not interested in right ascension and declination right now. Though declination is something we'll look at. And for me, especially since I don't even know what J2000 is, I'm going to work with right ascension and declination on this date. And I'm not going to do that right now. We can always add these things back in later. Ecliptic coordinates, awesome. But I'm going to do the ones of this date. Seems to make sense to me. So if I look now, here are those ecliptic coordinates. You know, let's trim this down further and then look. It's like so busy. The size, I mean, the size of Spica, that's cool, but I don't need to know that right now. Or the type, or the constellation. I can see that with my face. But Spica is the bright star, the shaft of wheat that the priestess of the sky holds, the constellation that is known by astronomers as Virgo. And I can see here IAU constellation Virgo. I can also see that Spica is 249.74 light years away. Wow. That's cool to know, 250 light years. I'm going to try to remember that. But for now, I don't want to see that. So constellation goes away. Visual magnitude goes away. Absolute magnitude goes away. You know, I'm going to leave the visual magnitude in there. Galactic coordinates, bye. Supergalactic, really? No. Hour angle and declination. Okay, interesting. And I want to see that compared to another declination. They're the same. Okay, so there's a difference between right ascension and declination as an option and hour angle and declination. And right now I'm going to look at neither of them. I am going to look at azimuth and altitude because we're going to talk about that pretty early in the course. So I'm going to leave that selected for my displayed fields. Distance, 250 light years to Spica, and I don't care right now. Sidereal time, Additional information, no. Look at, that's a whole chunk of stuff, including parallax and period and next maximum light and position angle of the proper motion, 236.1 degrees and all, no, like, not right now. That's like all information overload. Look at this when I click Spica and it just has these few things. Magnitude, how bright it is. Less than 1 is very bright, by the way. Azimuth and altitude, where it is on the horizon and above and below the horizon. I want that for now. Ecliptic longitude and latitude. Amazing. Southern latitude, it's below the ecliptic from the northern hemisphere's view, or above in the south. It's south of the ecliptic plane. We're going to talk about what that is. That's not for today. And ecliptic longitude, well, that's pretty cool because Spica, you may know, lives at about 24 degrees tropical Libra in the tropical zodiac. Well, in the tropical zodiac, we begin where 0 Aries, 0. And every sign is what, 30 degrees. So where does Taurus begin? 30 degrees. Where does Gemini begin? 60 degrees. Cancer, 90 degrees. Leo, 120 degrees. And just think about that. That's what? From Aries to Leo, if you know astrology, and you don't have to, but if you know astrology, what? Fire sign to fire sign? Trine. What is a trine? The angle of an equilateral triangle. What is that? 120 degrees. So from 0 Aries, where we begin the tropical zodiac, 120 to the trine, that means the sign, the tropical sign of Leo begins at 120 degrees. It ends at 150, where tropical Virgo takes over. And then what? 0 degrees Libra. I need to plug the computer in. Please work. Power? No. Sorry, y'all. Did that work? No. Let me at least pause this recording for folks who are watching later. I'll be right back. Recording. Very sorry about that, folks. Ran out of power. My own personal running joke is I'm going to make a short video. Brevity is not my strong suit. But we did just make the information list of the things on which we click much shorter. Where was I? If 0 Aries, where we begin the tropical zodiac, shows up in ecliptic, longitude is 0, making 0 Taurus 30, and 0 Gemini 60, and 0 Cancer 90, and 0 Leo 150, 120, and 0 Virgo 150, and 0 Libra would be 180, opposition, right? 180 degrees. So it's actually a really fun way to like anchor in what you already know about aspects, or what you're learning about aspects, or whatever that may be. So 0 Aries starts at, 0 Libra starts at 180 degrees, and here is Spica at ecliptic longitude 204 degrees. 180 plus 24 degrees. Spica projects to 24 degrees of the tropical zodiac. And Spica, very close to the ecliptic plane, which is the plane from which we measure the tropical zodiac. That's all information for the course. If you don't know that, don't sweat it now. Don't wrestle with what that means or why, unless you feel like playing, and then certainly go there. All right, so we just limited, here's Altair. You can see a much greater latitude, almost 30 degrees off the ecliptic plane. Here's, Antares information, Jupiter, right? And great, so now that I've updated that information, I'm gonna go back to my main and save my settings. Like, that's a huge deal. So if I'm swimming around and I just click here, or here, or here, or whatever, and I'm seeing different stars pop up, at least it's not like owning most of my screen over there on the left side, right? Great. So back into the left side menus, and configuration menu is where we are. So we just looked at information, and literally that is where you can change all of this stuff. You can see also here, I could have all available. I need to click on a star. Let's go back to Spica. All available information, all of that. The short version, not much at all. Customized, I could do none, or I could do customized. And customize, unfortunately, once I went to none there, I lost everything I had just saved. So once again, I'm selecting name, ecliptic coordinates of date, visual magnitude, azimuth altitude, and that's it. And now that I've changed that again, save settings. Great. So information, we're done with that page. I see some additional settings, use unit of measurement, and different things that I've actually never looked at, and I'm not going to trip on them right now. Great. Navigation. Display formats of date and time. Oh, there you go. So if you prefer the European style of day then month, switch it up here in the settings configuration menu. Wonderful. I'm going with the system default. J date, so Julian date versus Gregorian 24-hour, whatever. And time, system default. So, I could switch back and forth between a 12-hour and a 24-hour. The system default is 24-hour. I've never played with 12-hour time in Stellarium. And I think I will. See what that looks like. Startup date and time. So check that out. This is just when you click your Stellarium icon and it opens up. You can have it set to like your birth date, for example, and your birthplace. You could have your birth chart coming up every time you open Stellarium and then adjust to right now and where you are real time. I have mine opening at system date and time, so it's looking at my computer's date and time, right? And it's going to open up in my default location. So other system date at whatever. Okay. Enable keyboard navigation. Yeah, that's my keyboard shortcuts. I definitely want that. I'm using that more and more. Enable mouse navigation. Totally. And I had never seen this before, but mouse cursor timeout, that's interesting. So I'm guessing what that means is like if I don't want to see my mouse on the screen, and this might be really convenient for teaching this course. I'm going to set that down to 1. I'm going to assume that's 1 second. And I'm going to see that if I just let my mouse mellow for a second, does it go away? So I will learn this computer as you do. Now that might be 1 minute. It's certainly not 1 second, or I'm just totally wrong about what I think it is. Or maybe because Jupiter's selected, it can't go away. So I right-clicked and unselected Jupiter, take a drink of coffee, which is now ridiculously cold. And I'm seeing a whole bunch of mouse. So either that timing is different than a second. Oh, I didn't have it selected. Huh. Let's try again. 1 second. And the mouse is still there. And also, however, since I'm looking at this from within my Zoom video, it might not be doing what I think it does. This might have something to do with something entirely different. I have no idea. Who should I ask? Brett? No, he's not my Stellarium guy. Maybe I could ask the Stellarium board if I care, and I don't. I do care about editing keyboard shortcuts, and I think I want to make an entirely separate video about that, so I'm going to leave that here right now. But you will see that if you go in there, it'll list what all the keyboard shortcuts are now and other things that you could set, like a galactic grid. Let's say, for example, I wanted to make this galactic grid X. I could select it. I can push here X. And if that's not being used by another one, it will allow me to apply that to the galactic grid so that now, when I'm in Stellarium, I can use the X key on my keyboard to bring in a galactic grid, which is very dim, but it just came up there. Fun. Back into the configuration menu. So edit, so in the main, I get this stuff, including save settings. Like if I wanted to save that my galactic grid is X, I'll save settings. Fine. Information, we looked at that. Navigation, where there's some things I would not change the equation of delta T, the algorithm of delta T. All right, and remember, Espinac and Mises is the default. We looked at the rest of the stuff. Edit keyboard shortcuts we'll come back to. Tools. Planetarium Options. I've never looked at this, and I look forward to looking at this. And right now I'm looking at this. And this is what I look at when I'm reading. it look like when I'm reading. Oh, so this I want to play with more. It looks like I can update my star catalog to get more stars. Maybe I'll do that another time. One thing that's cool here is, I don't know what invert colors does, but see this screenshot directory? There's a screenshot button in Stellarium where you can save it, and if you do, it's going to save to whatever folder you set up here. I'm not going to do that right now. I think that's self-explanatory. If it's not, it's probably something you don't want to mess with and you won't need. Scripts. These are like these different movies built into Stellarium. So like, let's just play one. What's Transit of Venus? I click that and play. Never look directly at the sun, I get the warning. So it's going to bring me back either to 2012 or 2004. It looks like, yeah, June 5th, 2012. How do I know those two times? They're the only two times in our lifetime when Venus visibly crossed between Earth and the sun disk. And this happened last on June 5th, 2012. And it looks like they're having me see it from Sydney, Australia. I think it was actually June 4th. In California anyway. And so here they're showing me very slowly Venus crossing the solar disk. I want to quit this so we don't watch this whole script. I think maybe ESC will do it. Looks like no. I can change my location. But how the heck do I get out of this script? So let's see, maybe I can just hit stop and I'll go back into this configuration window and I'm gonna hit that stop button right there. All right, now I'm gonna close my menu altogether and I'm gonna come back to Earth, and suddenly I'm in Sydney and all sorts of weird things are happening, and all I'm gonna do is quit Stellarium and come back into it. So anyway, the scripts I don't really run, but they're different little movies of astronomical phenomena that the Stellarium folk have created for you. So let me click on Spica, and I will see that that shorter information thing that I just limited my information to, as we just did together, I can see here that it worked, and then I saved the settings, fortunately. I can also see that these meteor showers are turned on and the satellite hints that I don't want. Maybe I can figure out how to get the meteor showers out of Stellarium altogether for me, since clearly I have an issue with it. Back into configuration settings, my friends. Okay. So here we are. We just got to tools. No, we got to scripts. So these are different scripts that you can run. Checking out Phobos, right? Which is what a moon of Mars. Supernova, triple sunrise and sunsets. That sounds fascinating, but I'm getting out of here. Plugins. All right. Plugins are important. And I am going to make the next video devoted to plugins and keyboard shortcuts. Remember that? Okay. So right now we're going to be done with our configuration settings. The most important one is the Save Settings button, perhaps. Search window. Cool. Let me search for Pluto, because unfortunately, Stellarium doesn't consider Pluto to be a planet. Why? We can't really see Pluto. Look how close Pluto is to the ecliptic plane right now. I mean, I gotta zoom like way out there to see Pluto. Serious telescope. Pluto pretty close to the ecliptic plane. Check out Pluto in, I don't know, how about 1981? Look how far Pluto was from the ecliptic plane at that time when Pluto was at his northern bending versus now. How do I go to now? I click this now button. Pluto now very close to the ecliptic plane because Pluto's south planetary node lives in the tropical sign of Capricorn, and Pluto will be making the crossing of the ecliptic plane in this year, 2018. That's the first time I said this year in that regard, and that's a cool thing. And there's a quick intro from a sacred astronomy perspective of what a planetary node is, and we will take a much longer and reverent dance through those mysteries in the course material ahead. Great, so there's the search button. Awesome. What if I want to come back to south? Shift S, and I want to go back down, which I can use my down cursor arrow. Okay, zoom out, pull back on my trackpad. I have that set up. Great. Search. Search for Chiron. Search for, oh, Sagittarius A, east, to find the galactic center and other sorts of things. So I can search by object, I can search position, I can zoom to different right ascensions and declinations by equatorial coordinate system. Wow, I can go to an ecliptic system. That's cool. So what if I want to search for something that's 3 degrees north of the ecliptic plane in the 10th degree of Gemini? Let's actually go 5 degrees south of the ecliptic plane in the 10th degree of Gemini. Well, Gemini, 0 is Aries, 30 is Taurus, 60 is Gemini. So the 10th degree of Gemini is 70. So I'm just going to write 70 here, okay? And I want to go about 5 degrees south. Why? That's a little bit below, but it's very close to where Aldebaran lives. Now, another thing it is, in this moment, is below the ground. But if I take the ground away, we're going to see that at that location, I might have to search for it again since I clicked on a different button. Well, I guess it just brought me there. Let's see if I click 90. This kid over here is screaming about this whole thing. I don't know if you get to hear that or not. Let's go to 180. Okay, cool. So it's just zooming me around the ecliptic. That's fun. Lists. Asterisms. Like the Big Dipper is not a constellation. It is an asterism. It is a smaller constellation made of a known constellation called Ursa Major, the Big Bear. I could go to asteroids. That's good. And just find this whole list of asteroids, which is not a very long one. You can add, though, to it. Bipolar nebula, blazars. I've never even heard of that. And this kid hates blazars. Bright double stars. Comets and constellations. Great. Constellations. So I could just zoom over to the Northern Crown. Pretty cool. There it is. I can bring in the constellational lines and show that better. I can bring in the constellational art and show you what some people draw that Northern Crown to look like. Fun. Okay. So there's a way. Let me go back to south, and I'm going to bring us down to the ground. And I'm going to bring the ground up in here, all those using keyboard shortcuts. And I'm going to get back into that search menu. And just finally show that not only can we search by position and list. I'm kind of wondering if there's a centaurs list. There's not. There's a dwarf planets list, so that's one way we can find our way to Pluto. Haumea, Eris, Makemake. I'm surprised they don't give Vesta the dwarf planet status here in the Stellarium, because I thought the astronomers upgraded her. And then some other options. I have no idea what this business is about, so maybe you care to learn. All right, so there's the search window, right? Pretty cool. This is the big one, sky and viewing options window. And I believe I'm going to make that another video. This seems like a good time to stop training video number 3. There will be at least 5 for now. So in another video, we're going to get into the sky and viewing options menu. Okay. And then a final video, we're going to get into this configuration. We're going to look at navigation and changing our keyboard shortcuts and also working with plugins. And then we'll be done. I have to check in with the family downstairs and see if there's time for that right now. If so, we will continue. And if not, another time, my friends. For now, this is your friendly astronaut, Gemini Brett. Signing off. I will see you in space.